One of the big stories from this morning, we still await the white smoke from the Etihad, but the word is that Pep Guardiola and his backroom team are going to stick around at least for one more season, starting a one-year extension at the club. Yes. Let's get the thoughts now of journalist, author, former blueprint editor, the Manchester City fanzine, and editor at large for Loaded back in the day. It is Bill Burrows. Hello, Bill.
Hello, guys. How you doing?
Not too bad. Rejoice, I take it. Is that what they dancing in the streets of Manchester this afternoon, or one half of it anyway?
Well, kind of expected, really. I was expecting him to take another year because if you think about it, he's not going to win 4 on the trot. Possibly this year might be a bit tricky and then leave. I think Ferguson did a similar thing at Old Trafford, didn't he? When we won in 2012, I think he was going to quit then, but he thought, I can't leave it like that. And they came back and stuffed the 2013 title. But, I totally expected him to stay, and I think he'll stay longer than that as well.
You're kind of looking upon this as like a Glastonbury fallow year then, are you? You're just you're sort of slightly writing this one off.
Old school City. I'm prepared for the worst, but it's been a hell of a ride. But I do think that if we can get somebody to replace Rodri, almost impossible, but somebody like Rodri in the at Christmas, New Year, then I think we're back in with a shout if we're not more than 6-7 points adrift.
Well, the player is, just very quickly, the player is Mendy, but everybody's going to be fighting over him. He nearly went to Liverpool before. Arsenal would like him. I'm sure they'd like him, but they've got options. But certainly City and Liverpool would love him.
Depends if he wants to win anything, doesn't it? It's as simple as that, really.
What, Liverpool or City?
Yeah.
You've already conceded this year's
I think Liverpool are going to win
title.
it this year.
Do you feel like it's going to be Liverpool who win it then?
No, Liverpool haven't impressed me at all, really. City City fans start complaining about injuries. Everyone goes, oh, yeah, right, okay. So I don't bother. But lazy journalism insists that City have a huge squad with cover. City have a small squad because Guardiola likes having a small squad. He doesn't like players not playing. So when we do get 4 or 5 defenders injured, you have to put the kids in. At this level, you're going to feel it. When we start getting those guys back, we'll click back into shape.
You've got also the other players that are left have to play more and they get more tired and they get more likely to get injured.
And you've got a good you've got a good second string. You've got a kind of smattering of good young players like Oscar Bob and others you can put in, but they're injured as well, aren't they?
Yeah, Oscar Bob, that was a real blow actually because he was really, he's really highly thought about City fans. Rodri's obviously a big one, but Diaz has been out, Kenty's been out. I think Guardiola's probably the only one who hasn't. I might be wrong. It's tough, you're going to get teams want to spank you anyway. So,
how much do you reckon this could be down to the fact that Amorim has come in and
yeah, a little bit.
I
definitely.
think because he, by the sound of it, he looks it's going to take him a bit of time. It might be an instant reaction, but you get the feeling he's a very good coach, and he could be the one that turns it around for United, and that would be a good challenge for Pep, I think.
I think he's going to regret rubbing Pep's nose in it in the Champions League, to be honest. Because I think that if Pep was in 2 minds, he's not going to leave it there. Is he going to say, okay, I've done my bit, now United can go back to the top? The job half done, wouldn't it? I mean, he could stay another... He'll definitely stay a year. I think he'd like to win the European Cup again. I don't think we're quite in the right nick to do that this year. So I think he might extend again after that. But the thing with City, they do things so well. Talking about old school City fan when they did everything wrong all the time. They actually now, so they announce it just in the right time when they build it to a game when we're in a bit of a dodgy situation. We've lost a few on the bounce. It's almost as if they timed it perfectly to make the announcement. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. I'll give everybody a bit of a lift. I mean, who have you got back? I think Ruben Diaz is back this week. You've got a few back.
De Bruyne should be back, shouldn't he, by now?
Yeah, he's played a few minutes, but he's at that age. It's taken him a bit of time to get back into his stride. But this is it's these international breaks and these meaningless friendlies that do your head in. Kyle Walker going over there and he's played 15 minutes or something ridiculous. And then Foden's not been the same player all season. It's a byproduct of success, isn't it?
I mean, Foden, the way that it's been working, who knows what Tuchel's going to do, but the kind of perceived wisdom there is it's not fitting all these great players into one team. It's letting maybe the best player in that position do their thing, which might mean that Phil Foden doesn't start as many games for England as you might have thought, but I'm sure you'd be delighted about that, wouldn't you?
Oh, absolutely, he's club first for me, always has been. And then but I'd love him to win, of course. But it's City first always. And I think he won Player of the Year for the whole Premier League this year, and he's just a shadow. I mean, it was an illness or something.
I wanted to ask you about De Bruyne as well. I mean, he's kind of coming with all the injury record he's had. There's been a few stories about him going off to playing at MLS. I mean, it does sort of feel like we're kind of obviously closer to the end. That's obvious in the beginning, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's not looking great, is it? Really?
Yeah, well, City don't operate like other clubs. So you thought we could replace Aguero, and then Fernandinho goes, and you get Rodri in, and there was some kid playing for Villarreal or something. And they'll find somebody to plug. They're probably already talking to him and already got him signed up on some kind of deal. Who knows? I have ultimate faith in the way that club is run, which I thought I'd never say. But also, I think Pep has as well, because obviously the time that the extension is going to take him over the 115 charges thing. And from what I've heard, there's no break clause. So
yeah, that's the obvious thing, isn't it? We haven't talked about that. He must feel that they're not going to get clobbered. They're going to, I wouldn't say get away with it's the wrong term, but well, no, it is the wrong term, because if they're
slightly editorialising,
well, no, if they're innocent, they're innocent, aren't they? That's it. But it looks like that they may survive this threat.
I think they will, and I think you know as well as I do, if you're being honest, the charges were brought in to stop clubs like City and Newcastle challenging for the points at the top. I mean, Chelsea scared them to death, then City came along and paralysed them, and then they thought, well, we can't do this, we're going to bring in some new rules. So regardless of the unjustness of the laws, if we beat them, we beat them. But Pep said, he said he'd leave the club if the people at the club had lied to him. That doesn't necessarily mean if we get found guilty, if he believes they were innocent.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. Before I let you go, we spoke to Tim Southwell last week, the former joint editor of Loaded, and you were editor-at-large at Loaded, and your name came up, as I mentioned. You were a big money transfer from 90 minutes and goal. So you've seen the documentary that's on Friday. Are you impressed?
I have. No.
Oh, okay. Really?
if you want the real story about what happened at Loaded, it's not in that documentary. It's in Tim Southwell's book, funny enough. Because, I mean, they talk about the mayhem in the office, and they show a picture of a desk with some cans on it. Well, as you can vouchsafe, Paul, that wasn't mayhem. That could be any office anywhere. That
was most mornings about 9:05.
That was the kind of place you could walk through and there'd be a fire in the corner because someone had seen what happens if you pour petrol down the back of a computer and light it. Yeah. And meanwhile, three of the others are building a shed on the roof. It was a crazy place. And I was editor-at-large. I didn't have to be in the office, but I chose to go in every day. It was that good.
Yeah. Well,
so you won't see that.
Well, it'll give us maybe you've got to make your own. Bill, good to talk to you. We'll catch up with you soon. Thanks very much.
Thank you, guys. Cheers.
Yes, Bill Burrows there, Manchester City fan, winding things up today. As we said, I'm sure Pep signing that new deal will be coming up over the next 3 hours with Andy Goldstein and Darren Bent.
Paul Hawksbee and Andy Jacobs, Monday to Friday afternoons 1 till 4 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.